Every town has its secrets. Some are small, forgotten whispers, but in one quiet American town there was a house. A house that no one dared enter, a house that terrified an entire community. Tonight, I'm taking you inside the story of the haunted house that left the town sleepless for decades. The town of Millfield wasn't large. It was one of those places where everyone knew each other's names, where children played in the streets, and neighbors shared meals during the holidays. Life was ordinary, until the Thompson House appeared on the edge of town. Built in the 1920s, the Thompson House was an enormous Victorian structure, with dark wooden beams, tall windows, and a gabled roof that seemed to pierce the sky. For years, it sat abandoned. Locals whispered that the Thompsons had disappeared one night, leaving behind furniture, personal belongings, and a lingering sense of dread. Some said the house was cursed, though no one could explain why. Strange noises were reported, shadows that didn't belong to anyone, and cold gusts of wind that came from nowhere. It all started subtly. A mail carrier, Mr. Harlan, was the first to notice. He delivered letters to the Thompson house, even though it had been empty for decades. One evening, as the sun set and shadows stretched across the town, he heard footsteps inside. Footsteps that didn't match anyone's pattern. Curious, he peered through a window. Inside, the house was in disarray, furniture covered in dust, cobwebs hanging from the ceiling. Yet, he saw movement. A shadow darted across the hallway. Mr. Harlan thought it was a trick of the light, until he saw a figure standing at the top of the staircase, motionless, staring directly at him. Then, it vanished. Soon after, reports began pouring in. Children walking past the house would hear whispers calling their names. Pets refused to approach, windows shattered on their own. And at night, screams, or perhaps crying, could be heard echoing from within, though no one was inside. As the weeks went by, fear gripped Millfield. Parents forbade their children from going near the Thompson house. Some residents even moved away. Local authorities were called, but the house resisted inspection. Cameras installed to catch intruders captured nothing, except fleeting shadows and sudden bursts of cold air. Electronics failed when placed inside. One officer described it as a presence that wasn't human, yet undeniably aware. The town held meetings. Debates raged about whether to burn it down, board it up, or leave it be, but something powerful prevented anyone from taking action. No matter what they tried, the house remained intact, untouched, standing silently, almost mocking the townspeople's fear. In 1978, a team of paranormal investigators arrived. They were seasoned professionals, confident in their gadgets and techniques. Cameras, EMF detectors, thermometers, everything was prepared. They spent hours walking through the house, reporting nothing unusual, until midnight. At exactly 12, the temperature dropped dramatically. The EMF detectors went off simultaneously, doors slammed shut. One investigator, a man named Paul, felt something brush past him, invisible yet heavy. And then, they heard it. A child's laughter echoing through the halls, followed by a scream that sounded not of this world. Cameras caught brief glimpses of shadows moving in impossible ways, figures appearing in mirrors, then vanishing. The team recorded hours of audio, but upon playback, only faint whispers could be heard, murmuring words they couldn't understand. Over the next decade, the haunting intensified. Reports grew more alarming. A local teacher swore she saw a woman in a long white dress floating across the lawn. One night, a delivery driver refused to enter the street, claiming a figure was standing in the middle of the road, its face obscured, staring at him. He described it as alive yet not alive. People who spent a few minutes near the house reported dizziness, nausea, and overwhelming fear. Some spoke of hearing their own names whispered from nowhere. A family that briefly rented a nearby house moved out within a week, terrified by nightly cries and objects moving on their own. Even skeptics began to fear the Thompson house. Scientists, historians, and journalists tried to rationalize it, suggesting structural issues, drafts, or mass hysteria, but no explanation fit all the accounts. The house had become a legend, feared by all who knew of it. By the 1990s, the house had achieved almost mythical status. Stories spread beyond Millfield. Teenagers dared each other to enter, but many never returned with their nerves intact. Some claimed they were followed by shadowy figures outside. Others said they saw faces in the windows, eyes that glowed red, watching them, studying them, waiting. One local, an elderly man named George, claimed to have seen the original residents, the Thompsons, walking through the halls, frozen in time, repeating their last night over and over. And he wasn't alone. Several witnesses reported the same chilling sight. Over the years, the house became a symbol of fear, a place where reality seemed to bend. Even professional ghost hunters avoided it. Equipment failed, recordings went blank, and the deeper they went, the stronger the presence became, almost as if the house itself was alive, feeding on fear. Those brave enough to peek inside describe a chilling environment. Rooms covered in dust, furniture overturned, and walls marked with scratches, as if someone or something had clawed at the very fabric of the house. Mirrors reflect images that shouldn't exist, and doors open and close on their own. The attic, locals say, is the worst. A small, cramped space with old trunks and forgotten toys. Some who entered claimed they felt hands pushing them back, whispering in voices that were almost human. The air becomes suffocating, heavy, and unbearable. Many describe an overwhelming sensation of dread, as if the house doesn't want you there, yet refuses to let you leave fully unscathed. The story that finally terrified the town happened in 2005. A group of thrill-seeking teenagers decided to spend a night inside the house. Equipped with cameras and flashlights, they thought they could capture proof of the haunting. Hours passed uneventfully until 2 a.m. One of them, Emily, screamed. The others ran to her and saw her pointing at the corner of the room. A shadowy figure, tall and distorted, hovered in the darkness. Its face was hidden, but its presence radiated pure malice. Suddenly, all the doors slammed shut simultaneously. The lights went out. The camera recorded only static. Then, silence. When authorities arrived the next morning, the teenagers were gone. All that remained were their cameras, still recording. When investigators reviewed the footage, they could only see fleeting shadows, whispering voices, and a figure standing silently in the corner, staring directly at the lens. Emily and the others were never found. To this day, the Thompson House stands, empty, silent, waiting. The town of Millfield has learned to live with it, though few dare approach. Those who do leave forever changed. Some say the house is cursed, others say it's alive. Whatever it is, one thing is certain. The haunted house that terrified an entire town remains the greatest secret Millfield has ever held. And if you ever find yourself near Millfield, maybe it's best to stay on the other side of the street. If you enjoyed this story and want more real-life hauntings, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Who knows, maybe the next story will be closer to home than you think.